I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. I really like to listen to my favorite podcast, Pop Culture Pasta.
Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody, have you done much with ChatGPT?
No, because I'm anti the machine.
All right, calm down, John Connor. It's okay.
Rage against the machine.
It's going to be all right. I find ChatGPT and the AI stuff to not be super great, but it's probably because I don't know how to prompt it. I'm not very good at prompting it yet. But I did ask it for an opening to the pod today.
Okay, I want to compare it to what my opening would have been.
Okay, so it starts. This was my prompt. Okay, create a script for the beginning of my and Cody's quirky pop culture podcast. It should be about a minute long, and also take into consideration that I am and we are pastors.
I'm scared.
Okay. It says background music fades in, which ChatGPT, you've seriously overestimated our resources.
Or overestimated our abilities.
To be fair, I didn't tell it not to. Anyways, so here's the script. Host energetically. Hello, lovely listeners. Welcome to an absolutely delightful episode of Pop Culture Pastor. I'm one of your hosts, Pastor Dave, and I'm here to take you on a whimsical journey through the vibrant tapestry of pop culture. Huh?
That sounds exactly like you.
I know, man. It's just like this is coming. It's so natural. It's so natural. Background music fades slightly. This will be you, okay?
Oh.
Host warmly.
Oh, that's not me.
Which when I think Cody, I think warmly.
Warm-blooded.
Okay, and this is what you would say. Your script is, now you might be wondering, what in the world does a pastor have to do with pop culture?
Good question.
Well, my dear friends, just like the parables that Jesus used to teach profound lessons, pop culture often reflects the values, struggles, and triumphs of our society. It's a treasure trove of stories, characters, and themes that we can explore and ponder upon in a meaningful way.
I feel like it has hacked into my personal computer.
ChatGPT? Look at you go! Like, ChatGPT just went beyond most Christians.
Well, I mean, most of us are operating at about a sixth grade faith level, if we're being honest, and most of it is below that. So,
okay. Background music shifts to a slightly contemplative tone.
Oh, we're contemplative.
We're back to me reflectively. Each week on this podcast, we'll dive deep into the quirky, the extraordinary, and the simply irresistible aspects of pop culture. From timeless movies to catchy tunes, captivating novels to binge-worthy TV shows, we'll celebrate it all.
That is us to a T.
Yeah, I think so too. We're all over this. We're really close on this one, ChatGPT. Background music fades slightly. We're back to Cody, this time heartfelt.
That's me.
So whether you're a movie buff, a comic book aficionado, or just someone who appreciates the joy that pop culture brings to our lives, Pop Culture Pastor is the place for you. Together, we'll explore the nooks and crannies of this colorful world. And who knows, we might even find some surprising spiritual insights along the way.
That sounds exactly like me.
I know. It's eerie.
It's in my head.
This is my favorite part. Background music swells, then gently fades.
How much background music do we have?
This has got blood sweat written all over it. Back to me warmly. So, my friends, grab your headphones, settle into your favorite chair, and get ready for an unforgettable adventure as we embark on this journey through the realms of pop culture and spirituality. Thank you for joining us on Pop Culture Pastor.
Through time and space.
Realms and journeys and adventures. Oh my gosh.
Tapestries.
We just went Indiana Jones.
Nooks and crannies.
Background music fades out, and then now enthusiastically. Now, without further ado, let's dive right into our first topic of the day. And then that's the end.
Oh, okay.
That's the end of the script. That's pretty good, huh?
So that's not our typical intro.
No.
Usually it's something very random.
Yeah.
And I had something very random.
I mean, that was still pretty random, though.
That was for us, especially.
How were you gonna start the show?
Oh, we were going to play a game that I do with my wife in the car.
Okay.
And it's basically a hot take game.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, hot take, is Christina Aguilera better than Britney Spears?
Oh yeah. Is that a hot take?
Okay. So it starts off weak, and
Okay.
then we get into
All right.
more
Okay.
extreme.
All right.
Okay.
I see the game. Okay. Yes, definitely. Absolutely.
Okay. Hot take, Christina Aguilera, better singer emphasis, than Leanne Rimes.
Talent, yes. Style, no.
Okay.
But close. I would put them on even ground.
And now we step into the inferno.
Okay. All right. Oh, here we go. I'm so excited for this. This is amazing.
Christina Aguilera, better singer, vocal powerhouse than Beyonce. And this could get us all canceled.
Get out. No. Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Okay, so my wife answered the same, that like she had Christina above Queen Bee. But bonus question, hot take, and this one would be a hot take. Leanne Rimes or Beyonce, better singer?
Ooh. Boy, I feel like I'm going to get in trouble if I even say Leanne Rimes is close, but Leanne Rimes is super underrated. Because she disappeared for so long. Because she did the family thing. Mm-hmm. But like people forget, she was a huge star at what age? She was low teens.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got pipes. Like, yeah, she's got pipes. But Beyonce, of course, is amazing. I don't know. How do you judge talent when you're at that level? And we're just down here looking up,
Exactly.
Like, I'm inclined to say Beyonce. But I feel like I don't want to sell Leanne Rimes short. Because I figured there might be some Leanne Rimes fans out there screaming at us right now. But I don't know. Maybe there's not.
So, my wife chose Leanne Rimes over Beyonce, but she also said that she doesn't understand where this Beyonce's a powerhouse vocalist comes into play, because in her rankings, it is Mariah Carey.
Oh, yeah.
Christina Aguilera, Celine Dion, and then the rest.
Yeah. I'd have thrown Whitney Houston up there when she was in among the living.
Well,
but
amongst the living,
I don't disagree with her observation. I'll say that because Mariah Carey and Christina Aguilera are just different.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm not a big fan of Christina Aguilera's style with all the runs.
Mm-hmm.
She spawned so many copycats, which like.
If you're not Christina Aguilera talent, you should not be doing it.
I'm not a fan of because you have all these younger kids trying it, and it just I wasn't a fan to begin with, but I acknowledge that Christina Aguilera is an amazing talent. But yeah, Beyonce's interesting. It's interesting how music people get big, get huge, because there really is a lightning in a bottle kind of aspect. Catching lightning in a bottle of it, because there's so many talented people that don't get super big, and then there's
looking at you, Kelly Rowland,
and then there's less talented people that get super big. Like, how do you explain Britney Spears compared to Christina Aguilera? Because like nothing, I don't want to sit here and bash Britney Spears, but she's not on that level of Christina Aguilera with her singing talent.
Very few are,
and even Madonna. Like, you can't put Madonna in the same talent range as Christina Aguilera, Mariah Carey. But yet Madonna, you listen to that music and there's a combination going on. Mm-hmm. Like, she had good writers, producers. They had a good ear for what people would like.
And what she can do.
And like, because I don't want to bash Madonna either. I mean, she's the queen of pop.
She is. Tune in next time when we do the male edition of 90s pop singers.
That was fun. I dug that. That was good. I look forward to the next edition of your hot take game. Don't worry, the home game version will be available soon.
Yes,
from Pop Culture Pastor.
As seen on TV.
As heard on the pod. Okay. Let's talk about some news. This is Pop Culture Pastor, by the way.
Yes, in case you didn't get that from Chat GPT.
Yeah, I don't know if we introed that enough because we did the fun Chat GPT thing. Next week, I might try that again too. On another pod too, with a different, like, that was quirky. So, but man, they nailed it with the spirituality and the combination and the parables. I was like, wow, ChatGPT's getting people at my church gonna be mad at it already more than they already are.
I want soap opera themed.
Ooh, yeah, that's the next one. All right, let's get to our news items. Sydney Sweeney's Marvel superhero finally gets confirmed. Do we know who Sydney Sweeney is?
Yeah, she's in Euphoria.
I've heard of her. I just don't watch anything she's in.
She also drinks Bai.
Oh, the weird water thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
She's one of the advertisers for it.
Okay. Yeah, so she got big for her role on HBO's Euphoria. One of her next big things will be she is in Sony's upcoming Spider-Man universe film and sure to be disaster. I added that part. Madam Web, which, I just don't understand. I don't understand what Sony's doing, but here we go. Madam Web is what they're doing. She is, as she is rumored to be, she will be playing Julia Carpenter, a.k.a. the second Spider-Woman in the comics. Are you excited about that? I mean, so she was a West Coast Avenger.
I feel you really have to establish that property, and
yeah, Sony's not good at that.
No.
And then like the amount of characters that are in this movie that it appeared to be in this movie is just so silly. So, she's the second Spider-Woman. In the comics, she became Spider-Woman after being unknowingly subjected to experiments of part of what she was told to be an athletic study. At some point, she was injected with a mix of spider venom and exotic plant extracts, as one does.
I mean,
I love comic books.
It makes sense.
She actually played a big role in the comics. So at the time, she was a West Coast Avenger. This was at the time I was reading comics as a young person. She was in the first Secret Wars.
So is there East Coast Avengers, or are they just the Avengers?
That's just the Avengers. The West Coast Avengers were led by Hawkeye and had Vision, the Scarlet Witch. Tony Stark was maybe involved with him for a little bit until Rhodey kind of took over. War Machine was in there, but for a little while, Tony was in the West Coast Avengers with his cool red and silver armor, which I was a fan of. I dug it. Wonder Man, Vision's brother, which, don't ask. I can't even attempt to explain that one to you. Tigra, which was Marvel's shout out to the furries, I think, because she's literally a cat. She wears a bikini and has fur and had a tail.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah. And so anyways, other people in this movie, Dakota Johnson will star as Madam Web. Isabella Merced and Celeste O'Connor rumored to play Anya Corazon and Maddie Franklin, which
now you're making up.
All right. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like set in the Spider-Man universe with all these female Spider-Man characters, but of course no Spider-Man, which is the basic overall problem with all these movies, a la Morbius and the soon-to-be Kraven the Environmentalist. I don't understand the point.
Maybe Sony should just stick with the animated films.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing Multiverse or Spider-Man Spider-Verse movie, and we're going to review it next week, just to let you in on what's happening.
Spoiler, I'm going to say it's the best thing I've ever seen. Probably not.
Cody's already telling you it's the best thing he's ever seen.
And haven't even watched it yet.
Okay. We need to talk about this because you sent me this list of every upcoming live action Disney remake in development.
I was not a fan of it.
Have you seen Little Mermaid? Have you
No, because once the review came out that the only good scenes are the ones that were shot for shot remakes, I'm like, well, I enjoyed the animation, so I'm good.
My wife and daughters went and they enjoyed it.
Oh, well, that's
So
good.
I mean, it is,
I don't wish ill on those that watch it. It just
Right.
doesn't say, Cody, watch me now.
I'm just going to say, this is another one of those things I don't understand. I don't like, if we're such big fans of the cartoon, why wouldn't we just watch the cartoon?
I've been watching the cartoon. I think that it is a creative, well, it's a lame creative way to spur interest in the cartoon and double their money by getting people to go to the theaters for the live action. Because you'll get those that are like, I only like the cartoon, and then they'll watch the cartoon. And then you'll get those that are like, I'm going to watch this movie. And then they watch it, and they're like, now I got to compare it to the cartoon because it's been so long.
Yeah. So I will say there's 15 in development, right? With 3 with release dates already. I'll say this. I think the older Disney stuff can be ripe for this. So the first
There
one
was one that definitely piqued my interest.
March 22nd, 2024, Snow White. And that makes sense to me because that's the oldest one in the Disney archives. And as such, it's an older story. And it was, I don't know what to say other than it had less story than, The Lion King. There's less going on there. And so it being fleshed out in live action, kind of a la Cinderella, what they've done with some of the live action Cinderellas, it makes sense to me that they would want to do that.
And there's already a live action Snow White film. It just wasn't from Disney.
Right. Because what I'm trying to say, though, is that older stuff can be made into live action stuff, and it makes sense to me. So that one's not so bad. Lilo and Stitch, I don't know what you're doing.
Don't do it.
Why?
Stop it now. Just stop.
I don't know why we're doing this unless Gilbert Gottfried was still alive and you were going to make him Stitch. Because then I'd be okay with it. But no. Why?
Cash grab.
May 10th, 2024, their next cash grab. Lilo and Stitch live action. Then apparently a sequel or a prequel to The Lion King. Mufasa, The Lion King, expected in July of 2024.
I'm kind of intrigued because I assume that you would get Mufasa growing up, becoming a wise leader, and also get the story behind Scar and his Scar.
Also, March, May, and July of the same year, those 3 movies? Are we for real?
They're trying to own the animated Cinemaplex.
Yeah. Moana, which we've talked about. The Rock changing the hierarchy of live action remakes. Which, right, yeah. How old is this movie? Do we really need it? Oh, and they told the Moana actress to take a hike. She doesn't get to be Moana, and I'm just, what?
She had a phenomenal voice.
She did. And she's still young because that movie came out like 2 years ago.
Well, a little longer than
Whatever.
that, but not that much.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Should we tell him? That's already a classic movie?
It's classic movie /
classic literature.
Classic lit / there's probably some non-culturally appropriate things for our time.
Oh, well, they'll water that down and change it just like they did for The Little Mermaid.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, the whole story.
Yeah.
Bullying Quasimodo.
Some feminists will have a problem with, the pretty girl always being made to fall in love with it's all about his love interest, right?
Yeah.
What's Esmeralda?
It is Esmeralda.
And they'll have a problem with the man savior, the patriarchal savior complex stuff, which whatever, okay.
And why does she have to fall in love with him? She can have her choice of whoever she wants.
And I would gently remind all of those females who feel that way that there's about half of females who actually want to be saved. Like they're looking for, they're the other kind, right? There's all different kinds of people in the world.
I'm looking for just a huge sum of money to fall in my lap.
There's dudes that want to be saved.
Yes.
I'm looking for, yeah, right. The Aristocats.
No. Did they not see the debacle that was Cats, the musical in live action in film?
These are all in development, by the way. There's no dates, but again,
Knock that one off, although that is a fun musical movie.
were we big fans of the Aristocats to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
You were?
Oh, yeah, because everybody wants to be a cat.
Hercules.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's already done that one.
No, this one I'm slightly okay with because
I'm not anti it.
it's under the radar as far as Disney cartoons goes, and I'm even more into it if you bring back the people that do the original music to do new versions of it.
And
right?
if you bring back Danny DeVito.
Yeah, you got some people still alive there. Like, I'm kind of okay with, well, they would never do a Pocahontas one because then there's no way they could water that one down to make it so someone wasn't mad.
I'm already angry.
Which is what Disney wants to do. But if you were going to do it while Phil Collins is still alive. And so he can redo the music. Because the music was perhaps the best part of that movie.
How dare you?
Cruella 2, which it's not exactly a live action remake. It's a reimagining. And Emma Stone, that one's not quite, doesn't fit the category in my opinion. Tink, do you know what Tink is? I have no idea what that is.
I think I've actually seen Tink.
Okay. Sword in the Stone.
That was the one I was most intrigued by.
Yeah, Dad, sign me up for Sword in the Stone. I'm here for that. Make it like for kids. Like we've got all the King Arthur stories we could ever want that are gritty, dark. Of course, the early 80s Excalibur is like the standard for me, and that one's super dark. Helen Mirren as a young ladies in that movie. Lot of great people in that movie.
/ I also like the King Arthur legend where he's pulling the sword out of the stone.
Yes.
Instead of getting it thrown to him by some lady in the water.
But I think that one in particular, don't make it super serious. Keep the original childlike flair of it.
And I want a great Merlin cast. Tink is going to be the Tinkerbell movie.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That's on the Cruella kind of framework then. Jungle Book 2.
Didn't need it.
Bambi, which, how? At that point, aren't you just making like CGI remakes of, I mean, it's still animation.
You're not going to train a deer.
That deer won't do anything we want it to do. You're fired. Aladdin 2. Don't need it.
No. And again, Gilbert Gottfried's dead.
Yeah,
So.
and unless you could bring back Will Smith and have him as the genie and just have him slapping people. Yeah. Just have him slapping everybody. Robin Hood. Okay.
That one works.
Again, some of the classic stuff I'm okay with. Now I'm curious, would they still be animomorphic
Are they going to
characters?
be foxes?
Yeah, like are they still going to be animals who talk and walk upright and speak?
Is there going to be a snake?
Yeah. The Black Cauldron.
That's old.
That one's really kind of off the radar. And there again, that I think you're on the right track. Go get those weird Sword in the Stone, those weird out there, even Aristocats, which I'm not super psyched about, but I get that. Take the ones off the beaten path to remake.
Oh yeah, I don't know why you're going after like the animated films of the millennial group. Like, go before that, because the millennials grew up watching them on VHS or on Disney, and whenever Disney would open the vault and release those on VHS, our parents bought them. So I grew up watching Sword in the Stone and Black Cauldron. Make those. Those are classics. And also, like with Robin Hood and with Sword in the Stone, Hercules, even though that one does fall in the millennial category. There's a live action comp already out there, so it's not a shock to the senses. It's something that I can already wrap my head around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Excuse me. We need to talk about this. Every once in a while, a story will come out about something older, and we've already done a Be Kind Rewind on it. So this is sort of revisiting a Be Kind Rewind we've already done. We did a Be Kind Rewind on one of my favorite movies ever called Wayne's World.
Party on.
And we talked, I think we hit a little bit on the friction behind the scenes in the making of that movie. And Wayne's World's director, Penelope Spheris, did a podcast recently.
Oh, she could have done ours.
And I know that would have been amazing, but she didn't. She did it on a THR's It Happened in Hollywood podcast. And so the 77-year-old director set the record straight about the rumored clashes. So nobody had ever talked about this really directly until now. So I'm reading from a May 25th article from the Hollywood Reporter that kind of describes what she said on this pod. She said it wasn't an uncomfortable set. She said Mike was hypoglycemic, which makes the skit he did of the hypo kid even funnier because he was coming from a real place. But if he got low blood sugar, he could get grumpy. So what? Big deal. She said, I worked with Richard Pryor and Albert Brooks. They'll give you a heart attack. Okay. So she downplays it at first.
Oh.
But she says there was real discord, and it began after filming had wrapped. And they started screening it for test audiences. Now, have we talked about this on the pod before? I feel like we've talked about test screenings.
Touched on it, especially with the Marvel and DC stuff.
And are we on the same page that I don't really understand? I mean, I understand why they do it. I don't understand why they put so much stock into it.
Yeah, especially like if your sample audience isn't necessarily who your target audience would be.
Well, it's so subjective. Like, I would err on the side of your original creative vision. That would, especially when you have creators like these people we're talking about, like Mike Myers, Dana Carvey. Like, go with your original gut creative vision in that case. But she goes on. She says Mike Myers' father died right around that time. So he had returned to Canada for the funeral and missed a lot of those early screenings. And she says that that they got great audience reaction in the testing. And that's when the poo hit the fan, she says. She said he wasn't there to witness the incredible audience reaction and look at the test cards and realize that we had something on our hands. So she's implying that the movie was even better at one point, to which I'm like, oh man, is there an original cut? I want the Spheris cut of Wayne's World. Instead, she said Mike Myers watched the film alone and wrote 11 pages of notes, many of them suggestions for cuts, single spaced on a legal pad.
Oh.
And she said this is as direct as she gets, quote, most of them sucked. Okay. So she's finally being direct and saying he asked for quotes. Get this. This is amazing what he wanted cut from the movie. Among the cuts Mike Myers wanted from Wayne's World was a scene in which Lara Flynn Boyle, who plays Wayne's ex, who is still pining for Wayne, crashes her bike into a car. That scene was hilarious. Hi, Wayne. Hi. Like, yeah, that was a great scene. It got the biggest laughs in the theater. Do you have a reaction to that? He wanted to cut it. Why do you think he wanted to cut it?
Not enough him?
She says Mike didn't want it in there because she was getting the laugh and not him.
Oh, yeah.
She says that the Saturday Night Live crew was taught this by Lorne Michaels to always one up each other. Like, it was always about you getting the bigger laugh.
Lorne Michaels.
Now, when I read this in this article, I thought of another thing I read recently about Dana Carvey on the set of Saturday Night Live. And Dana Carvey also appearing on a podcast, his own, with David Spade. Him and David Spade do a podcast. He revealed that he prevented Robin Williams when he hosted Saturday Night Live from being on a skit of the church lady, Church Chat.
Oh, yeah.
She said he said that Robin Williams really wanted to be in the skit, written into the skit somehow with the church lady. Of course, the church lady was one of Dana Carvey's breakout characters on Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
And Dana said this. He said, quote, he was a really good friend and he really wanted to do Church Chat. Now, in the early days, this was my golden ticket and I was very careful. I thought if Robin got so excited, I was just afraid of it. He shared that Williams personally asked to appear in the sketch and Carvey declined. He said, quote, he even called me Saturday morning at like 10 a.m. and said, Carvey, he said, oh, I'd really like to play in this sketch. And Dana said it was difficult for him to deny his friend because they were friends.
Not after that.
But listen to this. He says, quote, it was heartbreaking, but we got past that. We were friends. But in those days, your thing was very precious. And I wanted to keep it quasi-real in a sense. Now that's ridiculous. That last line, whatever. You just wanted it to be your thing. And Robin Williams was a force.
Oh, yeah.
If he appears on that skit, he's going to be the main focus, not the church lady.
No way, Jose.
So I thought it was very interesting when I read this, what Penelope Spheris said about Lorne Michaels and what they taught him. Also, Myers had his doubts about one of the most iconic sequences in the film when Wayne, Garth, and pals lip sync to Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. And now I'm just like, Mike Myers, you are a menace. What? Iconic, Cody. That's iconic. So I judged the middle school talent contest just last week.
Professional judge Dave Rimble.
Celebrity judge Dave Rimble. I judged it. The chorus, their chorale or whatever, did Bohemian Rhapsody and headbanged in that part where the guitar solo happens.
Nice.
That's how iconic it is. Kids who weren't even close to being born reenacted that scene when they sang Bohemian Rhapsody. And so, Mike, this isn't going well for Mike. He said they hated doing it. She said, Penelope Spheris, they hated doing it. They hated headbanging in the car. It hurt. They didn't have the muscles in their neck and it started hurting real bad. They started asking for Advil on the set. Well, that doesn't make it not funny. It was awesome. The worst part was Mike said not only did it hurt, that it wasn't funny. And now I'm just like, everything I thought I knew about Mike Myers, she's just tearing it apart. Spheres strongly opposed Myers' suggestions and told producer Lorne Michaels and Paramount executives the film would suffer creatively and comedically were she to execute them. Lorne took me aside and said, Penelope, if you don't change the movie, you won't direct Wayne's World 2. Mike's not going to approve you. Paramount execs told her, we really want to do Wayne's World 2 with Mike. We're not going to tell him you won't change it. You have to tell him. And Lorne said, I'm not telling him, you tell him. So I told him, and I got canned. Wow.
I feel we should have a pod where we talk about SNL shenanigans, as the youth say, especially with Lorne Michaels. I do have beef with him most of the time, I feel.
Yeah, this is too bad because Penelope Spheris got canned for it. But while she agreed to do a handful of Myers changes, it is mostly her vision that made it to the screens, including those two iconic scenes.
And spoiler alert, even though Wayne's World referenced the Doors nonstop through it, so it should, or Wayne's World 2 did this, and it should be my favorite of the Wayne's Worlds, it is nowhere near as good as the first one.
Yeah, right. Wayne's World is just an iconic movie. Moving along, the Flash directors, they're on their promotional tour now. And of course, Ezra Miller is going to come up. Where are we at here, by the way, with Ezra? I'm curious, where are you at with this movie? Are you clearly, we should probably review this movie, but how are you feeling about this?
So their actions, like even 5 years ago, I thought, why is no one yelling about Ezra? Because they are like choke slamming old ladies in Europe for kicks and giggles. But So evidently Warner Brothers has done a good job of keeping Ezra's name out of the news.
I mean, yeah, we haven't heard from him. He's not on the promotional tour.
And so
Or they,
mhm.
yes.
And so the thing is, I saw a short, like, might have been a 15 or 30-second little trailer on Max for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that snippet, compared to even the trailers, the full trailers that they've released, which I was like, oh, this looks good. That snippet got me even more revved up for it because it focused a lot on Keaton. And I'm like, that's my first Batman.
Yeah.
And so it got me in the nostalgic feels. And, oh, everyone and their mom is giving this a good review thus far. Even Stevie King. Somehow Stevie King has watched this. And Steve King says, this movie's great. And I'm like,
are we sure that Stephen King didn't get paid to say that?
Steve King might have. I don't know. But Steve King has already watched it. Terry Crews already watched it. Says it's great. And I'm like, why aren't they giving me a sneak showing so then I can tell people this is great?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know because, like, look, let's compare it to Jonathan Majors in the Marvel situation. If Marvel's being real cagey about it right now, I think they're waiting to find out how the trial's going to go, which I believe it started, didn't it?
I don't know. I have been avoiding this topic.
If he's found guilty, like Marvel seems to be delaying until they see the outcome. But if he's found guilty of what he's accused of, then by all accounts, it looks like Marvel's going to go a different direction and recast. If they didn't, I don't know that I would be able to enjoy his portrayal like I did before. Like if they were just going to ignore that, he did this thing, right? Now, the weird thing about that is we don't have nearly the evidence of what he's done like we did Ezra. However, with Jonathan Majors, there's no mental health thing at play that we know of.
Yeah.
So with Ezra, there's clear he's gotten help, he's gotten treatment. Now, my big problem though is this. So I started this with that they're on this the Muschiettis, the producer and directors of the movie, are on this promo tour now, and they shoot down the assertion. Remember when Warner Brothers was kind of putting it out there that they might just cancel the movie altogether? That they said no, that was never on the table. Never on the table. There was never a legitimate fear of that. That wasn't she says that was never real. So those were apparently misreported. They never considered that.
It was just Batwoman or Batgirl or whatever that film was that no one now will ever see.
Barbara Muschietti goes on to say, we have a lot of empathy in general for people who need help, and especially in mental health issues. That's why they are taking the necessary steps to deal with their recovery, and we support them in that. That's the quote. Now, here's my problem with that answer and that assertion. How come it went on? This went on for months of him out there doing just nutty things, of them out there, Ezra out there doing nutty things. Like, where was the care?
So it happened years before this huge kerfluffle that happened in Hawaii, then went back to his place on the East Coast. Because, that video from Europe, no one batted an eye. And I'm like, this is a deal. Because it was right after Fantastic Beast 1 came out.
Yeah.
And
I think they're full of junk. Like, this to me, I got upset reading this article because I'm just like, no one seemed to care about Ezra until it got close to this movie, gotten closer to the release of this movie. Now, all of a sudden, we care a lot about Ezra, mental health this, mental health that. Like, Ezra was just out there doing a lot of things like this way before, and nobody was saying a word.
And I want to be careful with how I say this, but even if there are mental health diagnoses, things that could have an influence on their behavior, there's still consequences for your actions.
Absolutely.
And yes, you need to get help.
And there's one thing missing from all of this that I think is necessary. Like, look, we're probably going to watch it and review it like we do all the big comic book movies. That'll probably happen. But this is going to be a topic of conversation if this thing doesn't happen. This is necessary. At some point, Ezra needs to get in front of a camera and apologize where everyone can see it. He's got the statement where he said he was getting help. They were getting help. I'm sorry. I'm not attempting to misgender them. It's just, this is something we don't have to deal with in our little small town. So it takes us a while to get used to it, but we don't want to disrespect them. We want to call everybody by the pronouns they want, because why wouldn't we? We think you're valuable. You're human. You're made in the image of God. We love you. Okay. We want what's best. But I think from the movie standpoint, at some point, you have to have Ezra front and center saying, I'm sorry. Things got out of hand, right? Not just the statement. At some point, he's got to be there. Otherwise, it's going to hurt the film, right?
Yeah, although as someone that has purposely avoided looking at whether anything comes of their actions from the Hawaii debacle and stuff, if there's any like legal pending stuff like lawsuits or things, they might be under legal advisement to not publicly apologize. And then you're not getting that until something happens court-wise.
I think it needs to happen before the movie. Otherwise, I think the movie's going to get hurt by that. I would say the same thing about Jonathan Majors, too. Even if he's found innocent of the charges, I think it would behoove Marvel, if they're going to stick with Jonathan Majors, to have Jonathan Majors in front of a camera saying, hey, I'm glad that it all worked out and the truth came out, but also I'd like to apologize for even putting myself in a situation where I got into this kind of conflict. Because by all accounts, it's what happened. It's just on whether it was self-defense or what was that seems to be where that's going. So I'm not just saying it for Ezra. I'm saying it for anybody. You need at some point the person in question to come in front of everybody and just say, hey, obviously this is not what I intended to happen. And I'm asking you to still support my art because I'm sorry for anything I might have done.
And I mean, so there was an interview that Cedric the Entertainer did. And he was talking about his comedy and how some people don't think he's as edgy as he once was. And he talked about how the CBS show that he's on with Schmidt from New Girl, that there's 150 people on that set that are dependent upon Cedric the Entertainer still being on that show. And if Cedric the Entertainer is not on that show is kaput, because he's like a main central character. He's kind of a focal point, him and Schmidt, their relationship. I know the guy's name's not Schmidt, but he's going to be Schmidt from New Girl forever in my books.
Poor guy. But also lucky guy.
Yes.
You get an iconic role.
Otherwise, it would have been from the Gilmore Girls because he was on that show as well.
Was he?
Spoilers. But with Ezra, I think they could make an apology praising all the people that they got to work with that worked on this film, that though their actions at the time were not of the best intent, the people that worked with them have poured their hearts and souls into the making of this film, and that you should still watch it Not for Ezra's sake, but for their sake.
Yeah. You might have been a good person for public relations. That was pretty good.
That's what I'm here for.
You've got it all down. One last thing in the news. We've done a lot of news. I know that.
Newsies.
But this one I cannot let go. We've got to talk about this just briefly. Al Pacino, his girlfriend,
Albert
Noor
Pacino.
Alfala. I'm just going to start this off by saying Al's 83. Al's girlfriend is pregnant. He's about to have his fourth child. He's 83.
But you might be wondering, how old is she?
I don't know. How old is she?
I believe I saw 29.
Oh my goodness. Oh, is that a record? 83 and 29? He's having a child at 83. Let's just, come on. Al Pacino seems like a great dude, but come on. Let's just think about that kid's life for a second. How many years does Al got left? There's no way he lives to see that kid's high school graduation, right? Probably not.
Cognitively, not most likely.
I mean, I think about that now, and I'm only 46. I add 18 years. You know what I'm saying?
Like Bobby De Niro also just recently had a kid not super long ago.
Yeah, 79 years old is Robert De Niro. And I'm just like, oh man, I don't know.
If you are a mob movie star, evidently you have kids late in life as well.
Pacino is already a father to director, producer, daughter Julie Marie Pacino, who's 33, who's older than his girlfriend. He's also a father to twins Olivia Pacino and Anton James Pacino, both 22, whom he shares with actress Beverly D'Angelo from the Vacation movie.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know they were a thing?
I did not.
Yeah, so I guess
He married up.
that seems he did. But yeah. Anyways, I just thought that would throw that out there because that was the craziest thing I read all day. 83 years old, about to be a dad. I'm praying that Al makes it to the birth. Hold on, Al. Hold on.
We're all not guaranteed the next day.
We are not. And he's already he's outlived the average. Anyways,
male life expectancy for sure.
I don't want to say it because, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yes.
I don't want to speak anything into existence. Hey, that's the news. We had a lot of extra news this week just because that's the way it worked out. Come on back. It's Pop Culture Lately coming up. Okay, with the second part of this episode, what we wanted to do is this is what we're doing. We've done this before. It's just a pop culture lately.
Yeah.
What we've been into lately.
That we haven't necessarily talked about on the podcast or talked about in great detail.
We like to do this every once in a while, and especially we're about to go into a run of weeks where we've got dedicated things. So, because there's a lot of movies coming out. We've got some Be Kind rewinds that kind of play into those movies. So,
some hot topics.
Yeah, so we wanted to kind of get this out of the way now. We're coming off Memorial Day weekend, so just give you a kind of a random pod. This is what we've been into recently that we don't really talk about on the pod. Does that make sense?
You're welcome.
You are welcome.
So if you identify with Team Cody, you're going to get a lot of great animated movies and stuff, such as documentaries and TV shows to watch.
Yeah. Should we talk about the one we have in common first?
Sure.
So recently, I've been trying to catch up on things that have been recommended to me, and I've replaced my, nighttime. So I stay up later than everyone in my family. I'm a night owl, and I usually would just, kind of get ready for bed and watch Friends. That used to be my go-to.
That just sounds miserable.
No, I actually enjoyed it. But thank you for bombing on me. But there have been several shows that I wanted to watch because they've been recommended to me. One of them was a show called From that Cody recommended to me, and I believe is on your list.
It is on my list.
And so From. It's a very small little summary, and we're gonna try to stay away from spoilers in case you guys want to watch these.
I was going to spoil the ever-loving nerd out of it, but you're welcome.
The Residents. First of all, this is on what's the original? This says Epix.
Yeah, it started off on Epix, but I think Epix is
Now MGM.
yeah,
And I watch it on Prime.
yeah. You can watch MGM Plus or whatever it is on Prime, and
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think season 1 is free for From. I actually paid for season 2.
we never canceled our MGM subscription, but
Tough play because I don't think they have much else that I want to watch. And if I'm being honest, the way this season's going, let's just get into it. The residents of a small town struggle to find a way out when mysterious unknown forces keep them from leaving. So it's like you're kind of set up as your standard, weird, very much purgatory-ish.
mm-hmm.
We're trapped in a circle and stranded in this little small town type thing, which I think's been done before.
Big spoiler. This is from the creators of a one show that Dave really loves called Lost.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's even got an actor from that show in Harold Perrineau. He's kind of the front and center guy. Harold Perrineau, who played, what was his name on Lost?
I didn't watch Lost.
His son was named Walt. That's all I remember is him yelling, Walt! Anyways, Harold Perrineau, the veteran of Lost, is on the show. Some of the writers of Lost are involved in this. And I think when you're watching season 1 of From, you understand and can see it. There's a lot. I mean, it's very mysterious. And in season 1, it does a pretty good job of sucking you into this mystery, right? It does a pretty good job of what's going on here. I want to try and figure it out. My current theory, because I want to bend everything to the way I already see the world. That's a human thing.
Okay.
They're in hell. I think they're in hell.
So I said, because my brother-in-law watches this, Leah's brother, he loved Lost. So he got in on this. And so he said in his notes, because this season's taken forever to develop.
Season 2's been
He said
iffy.
that Lost may not have taken quite this long, but they would take their sweet time getting to the actual like juxtaposition. So I told him what my 2 theories are. One was someone's dreaming, and this is all a dream.
It's all a dream. You're going with the Dallas
JR.
season 3 to 4.
Yeah. Or it's Dante's Inferno.
Oh, okay. So there's the different levels of hell.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's where I went. They all are, so my wife and brother-in-law and his wife, they have suggested like maybe it's a government-controlled experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is, what else did they say? There's a few other things, but yes, there's
just a bunch of people trapped in this little place. And oh, by the way, at night, these monsters come and try to eat them.
Yes.
And are successful from time to time. But the rub is that at some point they've found these little stone medallions that they can hang up in the house. And when they have those, the monsters have to be let in. They can't force their way in, which is very vampire-like from True Blood. But it's season 1.
So there was some great religious imagery in season 1.
Yes. Season 1, I think, did a good job. Let's talk about the similarities with Lost. It's got all the things in season 1, especially the hallmarks of Lost, except for one. The hallmarks, though, are, hey, you're presenting mysterious things. You have a group of people who are in a situation that is not desirable.
You have Harold Perrineau.
Yeah. And so like it's got me. And I'm guessing, I'm like, oh, why is this bad thing happening to these people? What is going on here? Also, there's supernaturally type things going on here.
Yeah.
Here's where it differs from Lost and where it loses a little steam, in my opinion. The Lost in season 1 was a slow burn.
That's what my brother-in-law said.
It's a slow burn and it's very grounded. There are weird little things going on that you decipher to be supernatural, but could also not be supernatural, right? There's other people on the island. They know that. Anyways, it's very grounded, and the narrative was built around flashbacks of the characters, which made you good character development, which made you care about the characters. This show is missing that, in my opinion. I don't really care about most of the characters.
So this season, I feel they've done the weirdest thing of, like, no one acts like real people this season.
Not at all.
Because, like, there's tunnels underground. Oh, there's this thing out in the woods. Oh, there's this thing. No one's talking about it to each other.
No.
And like, I would be telling everyone, hey, there's this happening and there's this.
Yeah, like, not to get too deep into spoilers, but Harold Perrineau's character goes out into the woods, ends up in a castle.
Yeah.
With like a medieval castle. It gets stuff, like there's stuff crawling around in his skin, and he's not telling anyone. And you're just like, why? To what end? Why wouldn't you tell someone this is nuts, bro?
So I will say this last episode,
I haven't watched it.
It has me intrigued for next week, because like one of like 2 or 3 things is going to happen, and it could make the show a lot better, or it will be the point the show jumps the shark.
I think it's worth watching. I think you should go watch it. It definitely, because season 1's available if you're on Prime. Just go watch it. It's free.
It's fun.
You'll have a good time. It's fun. It's kind of scary. It's got a creepy vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Really, in the first season especially. And so go watch it. Season 2, yeah, they're in danger of jumping the shark, mainly because they haven't slow burned like Lost. It's too much. There's everything. There's no way they can explain this now without it being just totally supernatural. There's too many weird things they've introduced now, where it's like, how many weird, crazy things could we introduce? And it's just, now you've got other characters showing up who have ties to some of the characters. You're like, oh, well, that seems more than coincidental.
Yeah. And one of the theories was that this is like a treatment facility.
Ooh, okay.
And so there's a bunch of theories. I still don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's
Spoilers
something
on that.
Something we've both been watching here.
Yes.
From on you can find it on Prime, but it's on the MGM network, technically speaking.
Yes.
What do you got? What have you been watching lately? I'm gonna stick with shows, TV shows in particular here at first.
Okay, so I won't jump the gun on that then. I'll say that I've been, whenever Netflix has like one of the new like true crime like series.
Yeah, you're into that stuff.
My wife especially is. If it's done well, I'm into it. If it's not, it's like, why are you wasting my time? So like the Murdaugh Murders, which is a doc series on Netflix. That one was good and very timely when they released it, because it coincided with like the trial and it wrapping up and a guilty verdict. Spoiler alerts. And also for a while until it ended, watched the Dahmer Netflix series.
Oh yeah.
Which old Jeff, he's weird.
Yeah. I got to say, I'm not into the true crime stuff, and I'll tell you why. When we did the hatchet wielding hitchhiker with Kai, that was different for me because it was very much true crime, but he was fascinating. Like there was something at issue with him in particular where he went viral. Like the whole story is just so crazy that it happened. So that was the fascinating part for me, and I was into it. The basic true crime stuff, like this Murdaugh stuff, the guy who did he get found guilty?
Yes.
Yeah, he got found guilty. I just find it sad. It's just sad to me. I get really sad when I watch it because I'm like, oh yes, there's people out here who do these things, and there's no fascination about it. It's just evil.
So I guess for me, like, especially if it's like a docu-series, like with Jeffrey Dahmer, or if they, so I get the fascination with the serial killers.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not saying that other people being into it is a problem because I get it. I understand the draw to it. I'm just trying to explain why I'm not particularly, it just kind of makes me sad.
So like for me, I'm always like, okay, what happened in their life to set them on this path? What's their mindset? Like with the Unabomber, it was interesting to me. Not that this was something I've watched recently, but there's a documentary on Netflix about the Unabomber. He went to Harvard.
Oh, yeah, dude, he was brilliant. And Cal Berkeley.
And he was part of some government experiments that were done on Harvard students. And his brother said he was never the same. But if you look at his childhood, he also had a history of killing animals, like mutilating them, and had a father that was at least verbally abusive. He might have been physically abusive, but like you couple that with whatever happened with the government LSD experiments, because it was along those lines.
Now I'm back to being sad again.
Yeah, like Ted Kaczynski becomes like someone you're like, oh, there's a lot more to this guy.
Let's be very clear. Let's put on our pastor hats for just a second. Monsters are created.
Oh yeah,
absolutely created. No one is born a monster.
And the same with Jeffrey Dahmer. You get a little bit of his backstory, but then you see like how the legal system failed at many points, that they could have stopped him. Yeah. Even like immediately after his first murder, like there was a chance that they could have stopped him. They didn't.
Yeah. That's all that needs to be said. Yeah. So that's good. I've been into, I finally, after multiple people told me I needed to watch House of the Dragon. Now I didn't watch House of the Dragon when it came out because I was really just left with a sour taste in my mouth how HBO handled Game of Thrones. So here's a little, little history. I loved the Game of Thrones books. Read them long ago, the ones that came out.
He threw one across his room.
I did because it was but to be fair, it was the reaction the book gave me. It was such a startling,
visceral reaction
to what the readers and showrunners know as the Red Wedding, that I threw the book and I didn't touch it for 2 weeks. But then, of course, I came back to it and read it because I loved the books. The show was good up to a point, although I'm on record as saying not a fan of HBOizing
everything,
the content. Like, I don't need the nudity. I usually fast forward past those parts. I guess you can call me a prude if you feel like it, but I just don't like it. I don't appreciate it. I don't need it.
Yeah.
The story's interesting. Just tell me the story.
Yeah.
But I've been watching House of the Dragon, and while it does have some of those older Game of Thrones vibes, and I recognize why people like it, it's just okay for me. I can't get into it like I did the other characters.
Question.
Yes.
Is Matt Smith good in it?
Oh, he's excellent.
Okay, so I may watch.
Do you mean is he a good guy or a bad guy, or is he good at acting?
Good at acting.
Oh, he's brilliant.
I don't need him to be a good guy.
Yeah, it's very good. The acting, of course, is top notch, and Matt Smith is is absolutely fantastic. His character in general, you're going to go back and forth on whether you like him, you don't like him. I mean, he's good. He's very, what's the word I'm looking for someone who's, you don't know whether you like him or you don't like him, but you know, when he's on screen, he commands your attention. I don't know. There's probably a word for that, and I'm not going to come up with it, but so far I'm about halfway through the season. And I figured, okay, I better watch it because they're gonna have a season 2.
Okay.
And so yeah, I'm watching it. It's good, but I'm not super sold out on it.
Okay, that's legit. Another show that I watched was Animal Control.
Oh, the one with Joel McHale. Yeah.
Where Joel McHale plays almost every other character Joel McHale has ever played. But this time he is working as an animal control officer.
I mean, you'd think that would be not a selling point, but it is.
It is a selling point. It kind of starts off slow, but because at first I'm only into it because Joel McHale's in it. Mm-hmm. But gradually, the side characters that are also strongly a part of the show, their characters start to develop. You start to connect with them. There's this tension between Joel McHale's partner on the Force, who is
the Force.
Yeah, the Force, who used to be like X Games snowboarder.
Oh, wow.
Right. And he tore his knee and he moved back to Washington State, and he thought this would sound like a fun job. Between his partner and the
dog catcher, he thought that sounded fun. Dog catcher all day long.
Which
foot up a dog's butt.
They make a joke because throughout the show they're being called to a whole bunch of random wild calls, like wild animals stuff. And he's like, I was told this job was primarily catching dogs and feeding them and petting them. But that guy and the boss, who she's new to the role, she kind of had an in through the mayor, being friends with the mayor. And so Emily doesn't feel confident in it. And Shred tries to boost her morale, but then there's like this tension of will they date, won't they date?
Yes.
And Shred,
standard for sitcoms now.
Yeah, Shred.
Thanks, Ross and Rachel.
Yeah, Shred is dating this lady who is like in Europe skiing, and they break up temporarily, and so it's like, oh, Shred and Emily's going to get together, and then nope. Then
you're spoiling the whole show.
I'm not.
What if we want to watch it?
There's a whole lot more. I haven't even gotten to the good story.
It's on my list for sure.
So, like, it's not the best show, but it's like, oh, if you don't have anything on, it's a fun binge.
Yeah. Way back on our second pod ever.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
We talked about a little show called Yellowstone. And I got to admit, I stopped watching it. My wife and I stopped watching it because it just got ridiculous. We've recently come back to it.
Oh, they lost me when Monica jumped the shark on like getting to the hospital in the most reckless way ever.
Oh, man. Yeah. And look, listen, Monica continues to be one of the most hated characters in TV ever, I think, which the actress is fine. It's the character as it's written.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so annoying.
I don't know if Taylor Sheridan's met a woman.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Beth Dutton. Once per episode. So we've gone back with a different mindset. Now we watch it to kind of laugh at it. And at least once an episode, something Beth does, the amount of people I know and women I know that love this show, and in particular love that character, is astounding. And every time we watch an episode, she does something. Kelly Riley plays, the actress who plays Beth. She does something where I'm just like, why do people like this character again? She's awful. She is just a terrible, terrible person. And I cannot get behind her at any moment.
It's because she's sticking it to the man and she doesn't care.
Oh my gosh, but she's awful. She's just horrible.
Well, no one lifts up the heroes anymore. We're all about the anti-hero, Dave.
She is cartoonish in her actions. Speaking of a show where no one resembles a human being anymore. None of the characters except for Rip. Cole Hauser's Rip is the only reason to continue watching the show. He's the only one that seems human. Everyone else on the show, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Kevin Costner seems content to just remain the best tongue actor in the game. Like the amount of acting he's doing by moving his tongue around his mouth, like so you can see it. Even in the episode we watched last night, he's doing it. I'm just like, this man's a legend. He is an absolute legend. He's still doing it.
No one's observing it.
At some point, Kevin Costner was like, I just think it's a part of my character, John Dutton, to do this thing with his tongue. And he just went with it. And now I can't unsee it. He does it all the time.
Maybe he has sore gums. Gum disease.
Well, I wondered if maybe he was a tobacco chewer. Maybe that was it, but we just don't see it on camera because that's not a thing we glorify for the most part anymore. But it reminds me of that. Like he's always doing stuff with his tongue, moving stuff around his mouth. It's weird. Anyways, Yellowstone is laughable, but also still eminently watchable because of that. It's just nuts. I have a theory where any like soap opera-ish drama show like this after a few seasons always gets to this point where to continue ratcheting up the drama, you have to have your characters not resemble humans.
And this is the last season.
Yeah, that was announced because I guess there's a falling out with Costner.
Yeah, Costner, not only is he going through a divorce in real life, but evidently is having beef with Taylor Sheridan. Probably because Taylor hasn't met a woman and doesn't know how to write women characters.
I can confirm. He appears to not know women at all. And this dude, like they need to bring on someone on the writing team who knows women and can write the characters. Because, bro, yikes.
It's a little rough.
All right. What are you into?
Okay, so I'm into, I don't know what to call them because like the descriptions list them as documentaries, but they're not. They're like kind of ongoing series. More kind of along the treasure hunting, what's out there realm of things.
Yeah.
So I'll list 3 shows, and 2 of them are going to sound way out there.
Like I've been watching Ancient Apocalypse. You mean like that?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm not going to list that one, although I did watch it all, and I really appreciate the antique archaeological sites that we don't see or hear about that often being shown.
They're always pyramids.
Yes.
It's always a pyramid.
Somewhere.
This pyramid's buried under the ground. It's a hill, but there's a pyramid down there. Anyways.
Trust us.
You just have to watch it.
So Expedition Unknown with
Great
Josh
show.
Gates.
Josh Gates is the man.
Let's see. Skinwalker Ranch and Outback Opal Hunters.
This is nuts. I can't believe you watched this.
So
Outback Opal Hunters.
let me explain how we got to Outback Opal Hunters.
Do I want to know how we got to Outback
Yes.
Opal Hunters?
Okay, so Discovery and HBO Max, they combined, and we just got Max. And so I typed in, because on Discovery Channel, there was a show called Dino Hunters, and they were people out in South Dakota and Wyoming, and
They were doing their Alan Grant thing.
they were doing their Alan Grant thing. They were digging up fossils, and most of them were just ranchers, and they're like, well, we know that there's fossils on our land, and this will help pay for the cattle. And so you got to see a little bit of ranching and a lot of fossil digging, and I was here for it.
Sounds fun.
It was. And especially when there was like, oh, this might be a new species that we didn't know ever existed. And I'm like, sweet.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, all the time. And so I was looking for that. evidently there's some Discovery shows that have deals with other streaming providers that haven't switched over yet. So that show didn't pop up. But what did pop up was Outback Opal Hunters. And I finished the whole season that's on there.
You have so much time on your hands.
And like the Outback's just wild.
Oh yeah, dude. Never.
Everything there can kill you.
Not enough money in the world to get me to go there.
So there's one part of the Outback that's just constantly flooding, evidently. Because these opal hunters in that part are like, we can't get to our Aggie. And because it's flooded out. And then there's a whole another part of the Outback that's just desert, never has gotten rain, never will get rain.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you know why? When one part's a desert and the other part is ever permanently flooding, God's trying to tell you something. Don't live here. It's not meant for humans. Why would you go there?
There are people that live in dugouts.
Like baseball dugouts.
That would be awesome, but no. Like they're dug into the ground and just living out of that. And then there's this guy his name's Bishop, and Bishop is actually a Greek Orthodox bishop. And the only reason he's opal hunting is he wants to set up a mission for drug rehabilitation for this small community, because all the young people there, my age and younger, they're hooked on the drugs, and he just wants to get them help so they can get back on.
You mean in Australia?
Yeah, in Australia.
Well, yeah, they live in dugouts. You just told me they live in dugouts in the earth.
And he's like, this poor guy, he has diabetes. He has a huge hole in his foot.
Oh.
And they show it sometimes. Oh. And like, he's out there just barely getting around and finding opal. And like, I love the narrator. He's like, black opal could be worth up to $43,000 per gram.
Oh, wow.
Or per an ounce. And then like they tell you this, and then it's like, oh, we have this many ounces.
So they do find opal.
Oh yeah, they find
opal
it.
Hunters.
Yeah, so like 95% of the world's opal is in Australia, in the Outback.
All right.
And they find it, but like they come back with the figures of what they'll get for it or what they appraise it at, and it's like, well, we got 12 ounces. We should be able to get $10,000 out of this. And I'm like, what happened to $43,000 per an ounce?
Oh, man.
But yes, so that show, Skinwalker Ranch is the other far out there one. But so I usually don't go down the conspiracy theory UFO rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. But with this show, they have a guy on there who worked at NASA. And this guy had another Discovery Channel show, like Backyard Rocket Boys or something. Him and his friends who grew up in Alabama, they all became rocket scientists, and they just made homemade rockets.
Mm-hmm. As one does.
Turns out that this guy also was like the head of the UFO task force for the government.
Oh, that's a real thing.
No, the thing that.
I'm saying sure, that's a real thing
that they presented in front of Congress like a few years back. He was ahead of it, and so like he's
him and the dude from Blink 182, Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, Tom. But yeah, this guy. So he's always like, I can't explain this, and I'm like, if you can't explain it, I can't explain it, and evidently. Indigenous people have already explained it. And ground's cursed. So, but keep watching. It's kind of fun. And then you'll be like, why are they so like shocked by all this? It's the same thing from season 1 and season 2 and season 3.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Expedition Unknown, great.
Expedition Unknown. Yeah. By the way, if you're not following Josh Gates on TikTok, you really should be.
I don't have TikTok.
Oh, you don't have it?
So I follow him on Twitter, and sometimes he makes funny tweets.
Oh man, dude, he's hilarious. He's hilarious, and I never watched Expedition Unknown, and I've gone back. It's something I've recently gotten back into because of his TikTok, because he's such a funny dude, and I've not been disappointed.
He was in Coffeyville not that long ago.
What?
For the Dalton...
The Dalton gang?
Yeah, because there's still hidden loot out there.
Treasure. He went looking in one of the first couple episodes. He went looking for Jesse James' hidden loot.
Yeah. I hope that he can find some of it.
Yeah, he did not in the episode that I'm speaking of.
He's found stuff when, like, I've watched, but, like, nothing close by. Like, oh, where's all this Dalton gang treasure?
Yeah. Expedition Unknown's great. I have been watching a lot of YouTube. That's what I kind of fill my time with on a lot, because I don't have, normally I'm not filling my time with, I don't have an hour to spend to watch a show. So I'll watch a guy named Ruslan.
Ruslan?
Ruslan, to try to explain who Ruslan is, he's a Christian rapper who has now kind of segued into, I would call him the Christian Joe Rogan. He's very much that style of YouTube channel where he's having discussions like that. He's a really bright dude, smart dude, and he's a Christian. So he talks about those kind of things. And he is a voice much like Joe Rogan, where I would describe Joe Rogan as kind of a moderate guy. He's kind of in the middle on a lot of things. Ruslan is someone, a voice that I think is badly needed in the American Christian arena as a moderate voice. So he's very much a faith guy, but he's not super political.
I will say he knows how to craft a tweet to make his topic seem like really interesting. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I already know how I feel about it, but now the way you worded it makes me want to listen. But I don't got time for that.
Yeah. I feel like too, when I'm watching it, his people he has on, they're mostly jabronis. And I'm like, you need me on, Ruslan. Bring me on. I want to be on Ruslan's talk show. But that's something I've been watching. Another YouTube channel I'm really into right now. People are going to think this is so dorky. But Reed Timmer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Storm Chaser.
American meteorologist and storm chaser, known for starring in the Discovery Channel reality television series Storm Chasers, as well as the documentary film Tornado Glory, and in the series Tornado Chasers. He has his own YouTube channel where it's just him this time of year chasing down storms. Just last week, they've got like this tank that they drive around, and they can like
the Dominator
3. So they're on their third version of it. So they literally have been looking for a tornado, and last week they did, where they could get in front of it and they can clamp it into the ground, and the tornado went right over them. They literally live streamed a tornado, them being inside a tornado. It was fascinating and crazy.
So I actually got to see him.
You met Reed Timmer?
Iola. He came and spoke at the Bolus Center.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
And he brought the Dominator 2?
Yeah. Well, these live streams, what I've learned is if you're out and about in the Midwest somewhere and you see the Dominator, you need to get the heck out of there.
So, crazy thing, when I was gone for that week and the Scots came on my way back, there was a group of storm chasers heading towards Hayes as I was leaving Hayes.
Yeah, I watched that day. Reed was out there in that area.
And I'm like, ooh, I'm leaving at the right time.
Yeah, because he picked up some of his crew in Salina.
Yeah.
And they made their way back to that area. Now it fizzled out pretty quickly, but
when I lived in Independence and was a pastor there was a storm chasing vehicle there that was parked at the Brahms.
Nice.
So
that makes me sad, but okay.
I know what I'm looking for in like mid-April through May. Mm-hmm. As far as vehicle wise, of if they're heading the same direction I'm heading, this isn't good.
So when I'm doing my computer work here at the radio station during the day, and I'll often have Reed Timmer's channel on in the background, just waiting for them to come across the tornado when they're live.
Dominate.
Yep. Been watching some Reed Timmer. Yeah, what you got?
So I will jump to, because I'm on this Max kick. Since my schooling's done, I've had to make up for like a whole bunch of things I haven't watched. So I watched a ton of animated DC films here recently.
Okay.
So Justice League Doom, Justice League Flashpoint Paradox,
All right.
Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, which that one's cool because it's like based in London during Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, Elseworlds.
Yep. It's an Elseworlds story. Constantine City of Demons. And so, but I love Justice League Doom just because, like, at the end of it, everyone's like, Batman, why would you keep files on us of how to stop us? And he's like, if one of us was to go rogue, I would want to be able to stop you from destroying everything. And if I was to go rogue, I'd want you to do the same. And they're like, well, that doesn't build trust. And he's like, you're a fool if you don't think this could happen. And they kick him out of the Justice League.
What?
Or he leaves without getting kicked out before they can kick him out. And I'm like, come on, jabronis. You know Batman's right.
Batman's cynicism is one of my favorite things about Batman.
It really plays well in the animated world. I'm not going to lie. I laugh like out loud just because Batman's being a complete cynic. And everyone's like, now Batman, and you fools.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. But Constantine, City of Demons, and like so far, and also the Dark Apocalypse War has really re-intrigued me in the Constantine character. So,
Yeah, very good. I've been spending a lot of time on Twitter looking for videos and finding videos of the Eric Lewis stuff. Are you familiar with Eric Lewis?
not off the top of my head.
Eric Lewis is in his 19th season as a referee in the NBA.
Oh, yes. I am into... Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Recently, he's being investigated because he is alleged has a burner account on Twitter.
Otherwise, he has a creepy fan.
He's been one of the NBA's highest rated officials in recent years, but what they're finding is that he has certain teams, namely the Boston Celtics, which he is a fan of. He grew up there, whatever. He's a Boston guy, and this burner account has lots of pro Boston stuff. Well, they have, of games he has reffed, they have the highest winning percentage in games he's reffed of all the NBA teams. So they've opened an investigation. The account has been deleted, but I've been sending you videos. I sent you a video the other day of a recent playoff game between the Heat and the Celtics, where at a crucial point in the game, a Heat player, when Jimmy Butler went in and laid it in, and like they zoom in on his face and you can see the pain. And I'm just like, ooh, that is not good. Not good. That's not a good look, bro.
It is.
It's been alleged that maybe he's put money on some of the games, which, how does this keep happening with their refs?
Okay, so this goes into a doc that I watched on Netflix, Untold, Operation Flagrant Foul.
Yeah.
Which is Tim Donaghy.
He's the OG. He's the original.
Yes.
NBA
and
ref.
He alleged in that doc that, there's refs still doing it. They all just kept quiet.
Yeah.
They didn't get caught. And he identified certain players getting certain calls because the NBA told them, hey, if Jordan is not or is carrying the ball, don't stop Jordan from
That is insane.
going to the hole.
That's insane.
That's what gets us ratings.
Oh my goodness. Like, dude, the whole validity of your game comes crumbling down if that's true.
Oh yeah.
I have seen video of like LeBron like taking 5 steps without dribbling the ball.
James Harden might be the worst at it. Like, he's literally hopping all over the court without dribbling, and then finally it's like pass or shot.
Real talk. I think sports are in real big trouble for this reason, because gambling now is legal. Sports gambling in particular, now that's everywhere. FanDuel, DraftKings, like it's just available in most states and you can do it legally. And how do you stop your referees from taking part in this? Your players.
Well, I mean, the NFL suspended Calvin Ridley last season.
But they have to find out about it. They have to know.
And then suspended like 3 Detroit Lions this offseason. And
how many people are they not catching?
A ton. Because I bet that if LeBron wanted to bet, he's having his friends place the bet for him.
Now think about college sports, where there's not so much oversight as you can have in the professional world. Think about some of the college basketball games you watched this year and the ridiculous calls that were made.
Yeah.
This past year of college basketball was one of the worst officiating seasons I think I've ever seen. I'm just not so sure, man. I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a lot of docs that I've been watching. So I'll just quickly list those.
This will be the last thing.
Oh, well, then I want to go with the movies instead.
Just list out the docs.
I would rather talk about the movies.
Okay, talk about the movies.
Evil Dead Rise, if you're a fan of the Evil Dead, and a more serious take on it.
Okay, but
it's a new movie.
How do they? Is it still Deadites?
So,
because you're already losing me with no Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell's voice is in it.
His voice.
It's a different book. Like,
it's not the Necronomicon.
But it looks like it. So there's 3 of them, evidently. Oh. Sam Raimi wrote, and there's a bunch of things. Scotty Walker would be the one to have on.
Geek Scotty.
Yes. Let's see. So Dungeons Dragons: Honor Among Thieves
was pretty good.
It starts off kind of slow, and you're like, did they just show us all the good things in the trailer? But then, like, it picks up and gets really good at the end. Okay. It takes a while to develop. That's how I'll word it. And then, where is the last movie? I know I had one more.
The lists.
Anyway, The Long Walk by Stephen King. I'm reading it currently. Really good.
The Long Walk's great.
Yeah. So
that's old stuff.
It is.
Yeah, but it's good.
Yeah, I'm reading now. You're welcome, people.
You're reading now. You get done with school and all of a sudden you're a reader. Look at you go.
Who knew?
Look at you go. Hey, what pop culture are you currently into, dear listeners? Make sure and follow our social media accounts on Facebook and Twitter if you don't already. And please interact with us on the posts for this episode. Share our posts from our social media. Share that and tell your friends why you love the podcast. That helps us grow. And if we grow, just more and more stuff we can do.
Yeah, and if you were thinking, why didn't they mention card collecting or 3D printing? We ran out of time. I had it.
Yeah, Cody's been doing a lot.
I've been making up for all the time I wasn't doing good, productive pop culture-y things.
I'm too busy. And I'm less interesting, if we're being honest. Cody's way more interesting than I am. I'm boring. I play games on my phone.
Marvel Snap.
Yeah. So what is it you're into right now? What have you been watching? What have you been reading? What are you listening to? We want to know all that. Make sure and leave your comments on the post. As always, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. We'll see you next time.